Hello guys, welcome to this class. So in this class, this is going to be the first class on fundamentals of graphic design. It's very important that whether you're, in fact, even as a video editor, you somehow need to at least know some fundamentals of design because sometimes you get to add text, colors to your editing, depending, even as a motion graphic designer, you get to use text, colors, and stuff like that. So it's important that you have a basic knowledge of design, right? So what is graphic design? What is graphic design? So graphic design is art of using visual elements like images, text, colors, shapes to communicate a message or solve a problem, right? And what are the examples of graphic design? We have logos, flyers, social media posts, product packages. There are so many. So graphic design is quite wide. It's not just limited to flyers. It also includes logos, product package designs, social media posts, um, anything design, right? All is under graphic design. So now let's look at the principles of design, which is my main focus right now. Principles of design. So what are principles of design? So principles of design are basically those rules and guidelines that help designers to arrange, and that is organize and arrange visual elements like text, shapes, and images in a way that is appealing, balanced, and effective. So it's a way you organize your design in such a way that it actually passes that information that you want it to pass, and at the same time, it is appealing. So design is not just something. Oh, I'm just creating just for beauty. No, when it comes to graphic design, your design has to communicate and it has to be appealing. All right, it has to do what it's meant to do. So there are actually more than 12 principles of design, but we're going to look at some, the ones that are really, really specific to graphic design. All right, so we're going to look at it now. The first one here is balance. Balance. So, what is balance? So, balance is the way visual elements are evenly distributed in a design to create stability. So, it's the distribution of visual weight in a design to ensure that no part of the work feels heavier than the other. You've ever seen you can get the idea from this weighing balance that normally use, that when you put something on one side, the other side goes up, like if the other one is too heavy. But if both sides have the same weight, it will balance. You get? So in the same way, in a design, your design, the things, the image, the text, whatever you're using in your design should be evenly distributed to give equal weight to both sides. Like, I'm going to show you examples, right? So let's look at types of balance so I can explain it better. So we have the symmetrical balance, which in this case the elements are equal on both sides, like both sides have equal weight. All right, don't look like one part of design is it has more content than the other. Then we have asymmetrical balance. It looks unequal but still feels visually balanced. I'm going to show you how it looks like. So you look at this, this is what we call symmetrical balance. You can notice that you see that both sides have equal weight. So you can imagine an invisible line here, right in the middle. So this is the lady, is the right side. So both of them have, the elements are equal. They're not smaller than each other. One is not small. Like it's not looking like it's unequal. Both elements here, the square, the circle, they are balanced. Like both of them, each side. This circle is not looking like it's only the circle here that, and it's very small, and then nothing else. Then this other side only, you now see this. It's not it's not like that. You can see that it is quite balanced, right? Even this one too. This is called asymmetrical balance. Both sides have equal weight. So you can see that this circle here and the circle is not very tiny, then the square big. In that case, it's not asymmetrical. Which means the design is not balanced. Okay, so which means in balance, whether asymmetrical or symmetrical, each side has to have equal weight. Whatever is on this other side, the same quantity, visual quantities should be applied on the other side. All right. So if you have any questions, you are free to ask in the community. Now let's move over to an example here. So I wanted to show you an example. So you can, if you notice, this is more like the middle of this. Okay, so you can see here that had it been as she's big like this, there was nothing here. Right, this we are here to say we was not here, but then you now saw what do you need. Like this was the thing. In that case, the design won't be balanced because because both sides do not have equal visual weight. Like you can see that this lady here, the picture is actually big, so it's covering most part of here. But they now come and use what do you need only, which means it's not balanced because Like I'm supposed to put something that will make each side to look equal. Do you understand? So let's say if this one is not here and I now make this box big and I write the word unit, that will make the image, the design balanced. Do you understand? So that is how balance works. Now the next principle here is contrast. Now contrast refers to the noticeable difference between two or more elements in a design. It is used to draw attention, create focus, add variety, and improve the readability in a design. Without contrast, the design looks dull, flat, and hard to read. Good use of contrast helps important information stand out and guides the viewer's eye. Before I even go and show you the example, you notice here that already I've applied contrast on this page here because I'm using a white text or a lemon color text, a light green text on a black background. That makes it to pop out. Okay, so contrast is when you're able to draw attention. It can be with colors. I'm going to show you how to apply contrast, right? So it can be with colors, it can be with text, just to create that difference that will make people to look at it, to spot it and say, oh, that really stands out. Okay, so it helps people to read it. So if I just imagine I was using brown on this instead of this light color here, I used brown. You won't really be able to see it well, like there won't be any contrast there. So contrast is a very important principle of design. So let's look at types of contrast. You see color contrast, shape contrast, size contrast, and font contrast. And I'm going to show you how each of these can be applied in your design. Now you look at this, you see color contrast. Color contrast. Now, if you notice, just like what I said, this is a light background. Then now see a dark text. Just imagine on this background now use yellow or use white. You won't really see it. So which means there will be no contrast. Because I use black on a light background or a dark color on a light background, you can see that contrast there. Alright. So that is color contrast. Then there's also what we call shape contrast. We are using another shape that is contrasting to the other one. So they make each of them to stand out equally, like to stand out differently. Alright. So let's say here is circle, here is now triangle. You can see that those are different shapes. That is still contrast. Alright. Or even if I was to use star here and this is triangle, that's still contrast now because they're kind of different. Right. Then we also have font contrast. Now for font contrast, you can see now this can be in two cases, alright. You can see that this design is looking bold, which is opposite of this other one. So contrast is more like you saying opposite, alright. In a way, it's like opposite. So it's more like the opposite of this one, which is thin, alright. Now you can also be even using another type of typography here in place of this part here, okay? So that two different fonts, or maybe the same fonts but different weight. This other one is thin, this other one is bold or extra bold. Do you get? So that is still font contrast. Then we also have size contrast, contrast in size, where maybe the other element is made bigger, the other one is small. So the one that is made bigger is contrast this one that is small because they want you to look at this one first. Alright, so that is still a type of contrast. You can apply each of these elements in your design. Now let's look at wrong use of contrast. So in case you see it in a design, you can always recognize it. So number one, we have using bright color text on light colored backgrounds and using dark colored text on dark backgrounds. So you look at this, you'll notice that um these examples here are examples of bad ways of using contrast. Alright. Now let's begin with this first one. This green color, had it been it was this light green, that would have sufficed. But in this case, this is the normal green, like it's deep green, and using deep green on a black background. Now, these are examples of colors combos you shouldn't use in your design. These are example of color combos in terms of when you want to place a text on a background, and if you really want that text to be seen, you need to apply contrast. So these are examples of bad examples of contrast you should not use. Alright, so don't use a deep color on a dark background. Do you understand? Now the same with this one. So using this orange color here on a light green, like it may look like it's fine, but you can't use this if you really want someone to see what you are writing from afar. Like someone to look at your design and it draws the person attention. You can't use this. Alright, so black would be better or a dark color would be better. Then we look at this one as well. Someone will say, the rate, about rate being fine. It does this, you can someone see this from afar. Like if someone is trying to look at your design, can it get someone's attention at one spot? Alright. So if I'm using something like white or yellow here, or even if it's light green in this text, there will be contrast and that will be much better in a design, okay? So don't use dark colors on that background. Now the next one is um this one here, light color and light background. Sorry, then design this one here dark on blue. And also want to argue with me, this one is so good. Okay now. But to be sincere, to be sincere, if you're using a text and you're using this like a dark black text on this kind of blue back, except the blue is it's very bright blue color. But I don't advise you to, for this blue color, it's too dim for you to come and use black on it. You can use white to be better, but using black on this background, except if you want to even use black, maybe you can add a black shape. They now use a light color text on the black background. Like, just don't use the this black color directly on the blue. It will look dim. Don't get someone's attention at first sight. Okay, so that is not a good use of contrast. Now this one as well, you can see this same thing applies here. Use something a light color would have done good here. Alright, this is brown and using brown and black on brown also. Okay, so it doesn't really make sense. So you have to use a light color. So that is just one of the what I wanted to show you here. So you don't make these mistakes. Now I wanted to show you this is an example of contrast, right? So today is Monday. Dark you can see is very attractive. Like you can just see it at face sight. Today is Monday. Happy New Week. Alright, then we have emphasis. Now, that is another principle of design. So, what is emphasis? Emphasis is used to draw attention to the most important element in a design. Alright, to the most important element in a design. Now, when you see a design, what gets your attention most, which means that thing has been emphasized. They use that principle of emphasis to get your attention. And there are different ways you can create emphasis. Number one, by using bold colors, or by increasing the size of the text or shape or whatever or image, or by adding contrast. Now let's look at this example. So in this case now, emphasis have been created here. With this other one is emphasis in size. So you can see here that this shape has been made bigger than other shapes, meaning that emphasizing the shape. Say, oh, I was emphasizing the shape. Then also, if you notice, other shapes were just round, round, round. Like they didn't have the feel of green. Instead the green was the light green was we outlined. But in this case, it was filled, which means I've also used contrast to yeah, because it's more like opposite of this one. So I've also apart from size, I've used contrast to show emphasis here. Now let's also move to this part. So you can see here something big. Why am I emphasizing the big? Yeah, because that, I want you to see that feel like to really show it's big. That is where I want you to focus on, right? So big here is my emphasis because I made the taste big. If I didn't want to emphasize it, I've just made it the same size with this one. Okay, and you won't really pay much attention to it like more than this. Okay, so emphasis is when you're emphasizing one thing over the other to just show maybe that is what the most important information you want to pass across. All right, then we have hierarchy. Hierarchy refers to the arrangement of elements in order of importance. Okay, so it tells the viewer what to look at first, next, and last by controlling the visual importance of each element. In other words, it is the organization of elements in the design so that the viewer's attention naturally moves from the most important to the least important. Right? So you just imagine people are lined up, standing on a line, and then from the tallest to the shortest. Okay, so there is hierarchy, the common hierarchy that we know. So it's more like from the most important to the least important. That's what happens in design. So there are different ways you can show hierarchy or you can create hierarchy. Number one is by increasing the size of what you want people to see face. To in the next one you want them to see you reduce it a bit. They'll next like that, like that. Okay, so let's look at this as an example. Now just look at this picture. The part the when you see this image here, the first place that catches your attention is this text. Read this first. That's what will get your attention. The next one will be then this. Because that's how the eye naturally moves. It moves from what is most pronounced to what is less pronounced. So the next one is this because this is not as big as this. And this, read this last. So this is the last part your eye will move to. So that is more like movement being applied here as well. The principle of movement. Though I didn't include this because it's more like it's meshed with hierarchy. Alright. So this is how you create hierarchy by increasing the size of the element you want to draw more attention to. Just like what happens in emphasis, but the difference between hierarchy and emphasis is that in hierarchy it's more like a movement. You are leading the viewer's eyes to from what you want them to see first to what you want them to see last. But in emphasis, you're only focusing on that particular thing you want them to see first. Okay. Now let's look at this design as an example. Alright, so it says most important lady in Africa. Now, if this was to be a banner on a road, okay, a banner, or maybe a design online, the first thing that will get someone's attention is the text most important. Why? Because I made it big. Second is bold. Three is a different font from this one. So it's kind of more pronounced than any other text here. Then the next one here is the lady. Okay. In fact, I think the first one you see is her picture, right? Then you see most important. Then you see lady. Then you see in Africa. Then World Women. Sorry, this will be the last. Then Annabelle Harris World Women Magazine. I will notice the most important ones I wanted you to see. I made it big. Then like that to the least important. So you see the movement going from here like this, like this, like this, like this. So this will be the last thing you see because it's the smallest font, the smallest size of font here. All right. So that is just how hierarchy works. Now the next one is alignment. So alignment in graph design refers to how text, images, and other elements are arranged in relation to each other or to the page. So it creates a visual connection between elements, helps maintain order, and improves readability. So when alignment is used correctly, it gives your design a clean, professional, and organized look. Now it looks as if I'm speaking French, but you get to understand better. So if you have I'm not if so most of us should be tech savvy at least to a point. At least you type with notepad or you type on Google Doc, you see what we call alignment, and sometimes you see options align to left, right, center, justify. So those are kind of types of alignment you can see here. And you apply this principle of alignment is applied also in design. All right. So we have the left alignment. The exam I also created example so you get the scene. So we have the left alignment. You can notice all the elements are aligned to the left, especially when it comes to text. In this case, all the elements in that design that is text are aligned to the left, or it can be aligned to the right, or it can be aligned to the center. So one of the examples I'm going to show you, most of if you notice most church flyers they use this particular one a lot. Okay, you see maybe you see the logo here, you see the church that maybe the event title here, then you see the speakers arranged in the center, the venue. So you can imagine that, right? That's a center alignment. Then for this one, you can see maybe it's for a class or some an online class. You see graph design class, you see the maybe the what they're going to teach here, you see the venue or whatever, contact link, whatever, and then maybe the image of the person will be here. So that is left alignment. Then for right alignment, maybe sometimes they use this for maybe class as well. They also use it for um birthdays, just any of those social media designs mostly. Okay, so you see the image of the person here. Maybe you see something like a logo here or whatever here. Maybe it's a fashion store or something, details here. So that is left alignment because you can see most of the details are aligned to the right rather. While in this one, most of the details are aligned to the left. Then the details are arranged to the center. So let's see an example. So you see this design. You see a Get Fashion Store. Get all your fashion wares in one place. Shop now. So you notice here that all the designs are aligned to the like not all you can see the image is here, but the text most part of the design aligned to the left. Look, I mean you cannot bring this image and come and keep it. It will be imbalanced or unbalanced, whatever you want to call it. But it won't be balanced actually because I mean one side does not have to be empty. It has to be equally distributed, right? So this in this design is balanced because I've distributed these elements on both sides of the background. All right. So this is left alignment. Then this is right alignment. So you can see here the stuff are written down here, right? And the um it's all written down here, and then we have the image here, so you can see this right alignment. Then this is center alignment. You can see everything. Now the reason why I didn't bring in that lady again, that image, was because in this case, if you want to put anything, okay, you can either put it on both sides, and you can't put it on only one side, or else it would not be balanced. Do you get? So whatever you put here should be on both sides. Maybe I can just bring in a back image here, and then bring in a what shoe image. Just something has to. If you really want to put something, but if you don't want anything, just leave it like that. Or maybe you can just put the image on top, so that I will not just know that this is a centralized alignment. Okay, don't just put one image here and leave it, or put one image here and leave it without and the inside side empty. Okay, so that is how you follow the principle of alignment. Now the next one on our list is the principle of repetition. So repetition is a reuse of the same or similar elements throughout a design. It creates consistency and strengthens brand identity. Example, using the same font and color scheme across all pages of a presentation. Now, before I even move over there, you notice that in this particular presentation I'm using to teach you guys, you notice that I'm using the same fonts. I think if I even change font, I'm using, let me just say, majorly two fonts. Okay. Now you may look at this if I'm using only, maybe I'm using different font, but it's just that I'm increasing the size and I'm using different font to it. But it is the same font. So I'm repeating the same font, I'm repeating the same colors. So that is a principle of repetition. And what does it do? It creates consistency and strengthens brand identity. So when you're creating a design, don't have to use, this is just something to note, alright? Don't use more than three fonts, alright? Don't use more than three fonts in your design when you're creating any design. So whatever font you're using, you can repeat those fonts, but sometimes you can repeat them in weight. Maybe you use bold for the title, you can now use the regular one. You know, there's regular, there's light, there is bold, there's semi bold. Right, so you can just use a different font weight in your design instead of using plenty font. Right? It will help your design to look professional. So what repetition does is that it creates consistency. That's why you see brands, they always use their colors, repeat their colors. They won't go and use today they'll use red, tomorrow they'll use blue, tomorrow they'll use green. Right? So that is them applying the principle of repetition to strengthen their brand identity. Okay, now let's see example. So this is just a one page one. So you can see here, learn how to design. Then this same color was repeated in the circle, these two circles. Then from square, this same color was repeated in this. So this is more like using the principle of repetition. You are repeating the same color, the same font, the same style. Alright, throughout the design. Next we have white space. So white space is also called negative space. So it's empty space between and around design elements. It doesn't have to be literally white. Okay, something here where it's feel like, maybe the is a white space around any design that is white color. No, it doesn't have to be literally white. It can be any background, color, texture, even a blood space. So white space is the breathing room in your design that keeps it clean, clear, and easy to understand. So when it comes to white space, it's white space because it's space, like nothing is there. That's why it's called white space. Nothing is there. So look at types of white space. I'm going to show you an example as well. There's active white space. Active white space is the space used intentionally to create structure and focus attention. Example, extra space around a hairline to make it stand out. Now I'm going to show you an example with this. But let me just finish here first. Then we have now in terms of active white space, it's more like the space between elements, right? And the spaces are always more like bigger. That's why it's called active space. Are more intentional, and those spaces are used to create structure and focus attention. So let me give an example now, like this ball, for instance. This is a white space. 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 So this space, is separating this ball from this here. Okay, just so that you can focus more on the ball. Alright, just imagine if I brought this text here. This football is a game of passion, blah blah blah. and bring it and come and put it beside this ball. It will not make sense. It won't be white space. It will look compacted. So this is a white space to give that focus, so that you will give breathing room so you can focus on one each thing, like one thing at a time. Do you understand? Then we have the passive white space. Now, passive white space naturally occurring there is naturally occurring space between elements or lines of text that improves readability. Example, line between paragraphs. Now let me use this an example before I go down here. Now if you notice um this particular design here, this presentation, you will notice that I observed white space, which you can see I didn't compact the text together. If the text are compacted together, the line space in between these text, you won't be able to read it. It will be difficult to read. So the essence of passive white space is to ensure readability. So just leaving that minor space between lines helps you to read. If you notice, if someone is typing this on WhatsApp or maybe on a social media post, and the person does not give paragraph, the person was just typing, maybe it's a long story, the person is just typing also, it will be difficult to read. When the person now breaks it down into paragraphs, those lines, those spacing in between helps people to read. Right. So that is what passive white space is. Just hope you understand. If you don't understand, please send come to my DM and ask a question. All right. Then we have football. So you say see football is a game of passion. I love it. So you can see this space I gave between football and I love it. If I even this one in between here, there are still white spaces. All right. But this one is passive white space. In fact, I think the focus is this in between here, in between here. All right. So that is passive white space. Then we have proximity. Now, proximity in graph design refers to how close or far apart elements are placed from each other. It's all about grouping related items together to show how they belong to the same category or idea. So when things are placed close together, our eyes naturally see them as a group or connected. When spaced apart, we see them as unrelated or separate. I'm going to show you something here. So in proximity, you are putting parts like elements in a design together in groups. Now let me give you an example with this. Now if you look at this design, I've applied the principle of proximity here. Now when you're putting things that are related together in the same place, people will just focus. Okay, let me start from here now. You see this paper, you can see this paper here, you can see this plate of food. Just assume if I brought this paper and come and kept here. Or maybe in fact brought this paper and come and kept here. It doesn't really look like it's supposed to be here, like it should be where food is, right? So that's what proximity does. Whatever is related to paper, please keep it where paper is supposed to be. Or then let me look at this one also. Proximity. Now if you look at here, I wrote date, time, venue. This is more like giving clarity to where or when or where the time when this event is going to take place. Okay, so the three of them are related to each other because I'm more like showing contact, address, and stuff like that. So that together, do you understand? So if you when you are working on a flyer design or any design, make sure that the elements that are related to each other are close to each other. So when someone sees this one, next thing person will now come and see is this one, this one. Just imagine you carry time and go and put up here. They carry venue and put in this side. How would it look like? Like people will now be searching through where is the time, when is the venue, like they'll be searching through. But when you now put all these things together in one place, people can just see it easily, and because they relate to each other, they don't have to scan their eyes all through the flat looking for where the venue is. Alright. Same with this one, cooking. Just imagine I carry competition and come and keep tea. You not be wondering cooking what. Okay, so you have to put things that are related to each other in the same place. Alright, so that people can see all these things are related to each other. Alright. Then we have the principle of unity. Unity. So unity is a design principle that ensures all elements in a composition work together to create a sense of wholeness and harmony. It's what makes a design feel complete rather than a random collection of unrelated parts. Unity means all parts of a design look like they belong together. So in Unity, you are using, so this is how you achieve Unity in design, okay, for better understanding. So number one, consistency in style. So let's say you are creating a design, and you know in design there are different styles, like the retro style, modern. There are different styles you can use in your design. There is this playful style. Okay. So let's say your design you want to use this particular maybe a kind of line art kind of design, for instance, line art kind of design, and you, which means icons you're using are this kind of line art icons, not this type. So which means you have to be consistent with using this type of icons. Or maybe you are using images, whatever. Like whatever you're doing should be consistent with this line art style. Do you understand? Or maybe you're using this time, maybe a kind of modern. Just make sure that whatever design is using this particular style. Now this doesn't apply to only icons, but other things generally. If you are using whatever you are using your design, images, text, whatever, everything has to be related to each other. Okay. If you are creating a kind of design that looks ancient, okay, though you not go and carry one comic font and use, find a font that makes it look ancient. Do you get, maybe like gothic font? Like find a font that makes it look like it's this particular design is portraying something in the past, or maybe a documentary of something. Okay, so you have to find things that are related to that particular style. Then we have color harmony. So another way you can achieve unity in a design is by using consistent color palette design. So you are using um let's say the brand color is orange and blue. Just make sure you use orange and blue throughout the design. By doing that, you are achieving unity in that design. So unity is more like it's kind of way bringing everything together, all the the elements I mentioned so far. Then typography consistency. Limit the number of fonts and use them consistently. So in when you are trying to achieve unity in your design, you have to use make sure that the fonts you use are related. Okay. Like I said earlier, you can use the different font weight of one particular font, or maybe two fonts. Okay. So just limit the number of fonts you use, and when you use them, you can repeat that same font. Repeating that same font makes makes shows consistency. Okay, in your design. Then it also helps to achieve unity as well. Alignment, keep elements aligned, proximity, group related items together. I already talked about that. Repetition, repeat design elements like shapes, colors, or so by doing all these things, you are achieving unity in your design. So that's all for design principles. Though that I'm more, but this is what you need to know for now. These are important ones that you need to know for now. So in our next class, we'll be looking at color theory. So just make sure that you study, that you go through this video over and over again. If you don't understand, okay, you have any questions, you can ask it on in the community or in my DM. Right, but preferably ask in the community so that other people can learn as well. Right, so see you in the next section, and goodbye.